I have to click go live 800 million times. We're live
It's
on
live, but
Facebook.
it is now. There you are, Sheila.
Come on, you dirty thing. This is rude. There we go. Now we're
No,
finally
it
here.
says. It says.
Everywhere. Yay me. Okay, I'm on here, all right? Yes. Okay, we are good to go. We are golden, and I am excited to be here with the amazing Marie Bostwick, who's just the best buddy and so inspiring. And I've lost track of, we met years ago through Debbie Maycomber, if I'm remembering correctly, didn't we? At
Yeah, I think we did.
RWA conference.
Yeah. And you and I roomed together at RWA.
We did. I forgot that. How could I forget?
We did,
that?
and you lost your phone.
Oh, you remember those awful things?
I just didn't imagine how you could lose your phone.
I don't know how I could either. You know what? I think, you guys all have, as you're coming, I'll have to tell you. So a while back, I thought, oh gosh, I'm losing my mind. Am I getting dementia? And all of a sudden, Marie said, Sheila, I remember back when I first met you and you lost your phone. You are just as, you're no dingier than you ever were.
That's true. Yeah, no, you've always been like this. This is not
really
new.
Good to have good friends who remind you of your regular state of mind. So, hey, hi, everybody who's coming in. We got a bunch of you already. Ontario has arrived. Hi, Corrine. And Kathy is here, and Pam. Hi, Susie. And Jeannie Chambers. Hi, Jeannie. Our children's book author has made it. Nicole is here. Diane is here. And I'm so glad you guys are all joining me today to have a chance to talk with Marie Bostwick, the amazing Marie Bostwick, because she is Miss New York Times bestseller. In addition to that, she is a fabulous quilter. She is an amazing cook, and we are going to talk to her more about all of that here in a little bit. But let's just kind of jump right in. I think a lot of people showing up today know all about you, who you are. Marie also hosts the 10-minute book talk where you get a chance to hear what writers are working on. So she is a busy woman, and she still managed to find time to write in between all of this. But I want to talk about starting by the quilting, because that was how I kind of knew you at first. And a lot of your books deal with quilting. So how did you get into quilting? You've been doing this like forever, right?
I have been quilting forever. A lot of people take up quilting sort of when they retire, right? They have a little more time. I actually took it up when I was really young. Back in the day.
What were you, like 10? You were 10, right?
No, I wasn't that young, but I grew up sewing because we did, I remember making my first halter top when I was like 6 years old on the sewing machine.
Oh my goodness.
Fabric scraps, and we did strips, but we would do these things. But then later I used to make a lot of my own clothes when I was from a fairly young age, because back then garment sewing actually paid. So you could make your clothes cheaper. So I would do that. And then, but I didn't for a long time. And then I really got into quilting basically as a means of getting away from my children. So,
the mother of the year.
I was a young mom, and I had a couple of little people, and I think I was living in Texas at the time. I've moved a lot, and I walked by the window of a quilt shop, and there was this quilt in it, and I thought, I can make that. And I walked in and signed up for a class, and I was probably, I don't know. I mean, I was in my early 20s. At that point, I didn't make as many quilts back then because yes, it is harder when you have little people kind of running around. And so, once the kids were sort of launched, I was able to make more quilts. I probably still, like right now, I mean, the writing's busy, so I probably finish 4 big projects a year if I'm lucky, maybe some smaller ones. It just depends.
Wow, that's impressive. I don't know how you find time to do all of that, frankly. When did you start writing then? So you quilting at 20, it's sewing at 6, quilting at 20. So when was the first book done?
The first book I published?
Yeah.
Oh, let's see. That was 2005 was my first book was out. So wow. I was younger 12. Than I am now.
You were 12. No, I'm just kidding.
I wasn't 12. I think I was, let me think. I was 40 something, my early 40s.
Wow. Okay.
But I've been, like everybody else. I mean, most of us who are writing, we never didn't write. We were always writing.
You're right. That's true. We were always.
Yeah, you were always. I mean, as soon as I could hold a pencil and spell words, I was writing. But I didn't think, oh yeah, this is going to be my career.
Isn't that interesting? Well, I mean, of course, a lot of us get started a little bit later in the writing because we're raising kids. I think our friend Maisie Yates is one of the ones who started really, really, really young. You know, our kids were really little, but for a lot of us, it was the kids were a little bit older before we launched into doing the writing, right? Because you're busy doing the PTA thing and the this and the that. And by the way, a shout out to all of you who've joined us that I didn't say hi to at first. I see a whole bunch
Hi,
of
everybody.
new bodies have shown up, and thanks you guys for coming. It's really lovely to see so many of you coming and joining us for these talks, and especially with Marie and hearing about, good heavens, Miss Superwoman here with all the cool things that she does. It really is. I did, you know, I tried sewing. I remember you had to, because way back when the pterodactyl flew, you had to learn it in school. And I can remember, you know, trying. And then as I got older, I remember I tried to make a jacket and the collar looked like a banana. And I went, I don't think this is my calling. The person would make me swear. I thought, what are you doing? Quit trying to do this. And I made one quilt for when our son was a baby. It was really cute. I still have the pattern. It was old fashioned little choo-choo steam engine with a little embroidered smiley face. And I just did basic blocks and stuck it on there. So it was a really basic. And I thought, I'd do another one if I ever had a grandchild, but nobody's cooperating here to give me a grandboy. So you know what? That might just, who knows what will happen to that when I'm gone. I should will it to somebody, say, make a quilt out of this in my honor. Drape it over me when I'm gone. I don't know. Anyway, moving right along, past the quilts and all the other important stuff. So let's go on to her other thing. Now, you guys, and she is going to tell you, well, you should tell her now. Maria has also got a Facebook page where she's got all kinds of cool recipes and things. And what is this? That's just put on Marie Bostwick. I go there all the time.
I have a blog and on my website's mariebostwick.com. And I like what Jane says. At least you tried to make. That's right. We get points for showing up. A for effort. Anyway, so mariebostwick.com, and on there I have a blog, and the blog is called Fiercely Marie. And I do all kinds of things on that, and especially early on, when I first started my blog, it was called Fierce Beyond 50. And it was a separate blog. And then I quickly realized and I just did it because once I turned 50, I just felt like all of a sudden people were like, well, okay, get off the stage now. And I went,
no, we're not leaving.
I was like, I just got here. So you know what? No. So I don't think I will. I said, I have more to offer now than I did when I was younger. And I just felt like it was a space that I could, kind of claim. Right. So I was just writing a lot about, it was really always a lifestyle blog, all the things I enjoy. But also I wanted it to be a place to encourage people who were maybe hitting that 50 mark and having that same feeling, I did, that people were saying, okay, well, you're invisible now, get off the stage. But I quickly realized that a lot of people of every age were coming, and it wasn't about my age. It was about just, wanting a place to have a community and have a share. And my tagline was, and now I can't remember it. Wow. Cause I'm way over 50 now, but it was just about loving life, that was it. Live every minute, love every moment. And that's really my kind of my motto, my personal motto. Whatever I'm doing, I want it to be fun. And if it's not fun, I don't want to do it. I mean, sometimes everything isn't fun, but there should be an element of enjoyment. Anyway, so I realized, having a blog that said Fierce Over 50, there was a whole bunch of people showing up that was like, oh yeah, this isn't for you. Nothing to see here. Go away. And I was like, So then I changed it to Fiercely Marie, moved it onto my website. And yeah, a lot of people, tens of thousands of people come to the blog every month.
That's so amazing.
It's really amazing. A lot of it has become cooking, has become recipes, because it's not all recipes, but I would say about 3/4 of the content these days is recipes. I love to cook. I am an enthusiastic home chef, and it's really what people seem to, enjoy. But I have some other things on there too. Sometimes I'll have things about, one we just did recently, like new ways to celebrate spring, or I did a quilt. I do crafting things on there sometimes, but sometimes there's more thoughtful things. One thing I liked is like, how do you be a good mother-in-law? Because it's
Oh, I
an
love
important
that.
job, and to do it well. And I had a wonderful mother-in-law who was a great blessing to me, and I learned a lot about that from her. So just lots of stuff, but a lot of cooking for sure.
That is just, I love that. And the whole thing about the different ages, I really think maybe the only people that we're invisible to are people who are in their 20s because they're busy and youthful. And you know, you get a little arrogant and cocky when you're young anyway, you know, and then you get a little older and you're like, oh, every age has something to offer, but I don't think you necessarily see that when you're really, really, really young. But I love multi-generational friendships. I'm sure you have, I have some,
Oh
and
yeah.
I'm sure you do too. You know, so I think
And
that's,
a lot of my books are frequently, not all of them, but often my books have multi-generational casts of characters because I think that's important. You know, I started doing something recently, Sheila, that I think is really good because I realize people get to a certain age and everybody kind of stops talking to them because what is the
yes.
question we all ask each other when we meet a new person? What do you do? And by that we mean career. I've stopped asking that question. I now ask people of every age, how do you like to spend your time?
Oh, I love that. That's a great way to phrase a question. Yeah. How do
Because
you
then
like to?
I learn not, I mean, I might learn about their job, but I also might learn that they like are a scratch golfer or make pots or, you know, travel the world or volunteer at some really cool thing. So it's a much more interesting question.
Oh, for sure. Okay, guys, this is a good thing to remember for conversation. And I do remember seeing that. I remember years ago, kind of as my mom was gone, and my mother and my sister-in-law's mother was kind of the last left of that generation. I remember noting how she was, everybody could talk to her, but it was almost like a duty conference. We all loved her, but we'd all, you know, talk to grandma, and then we'd go do our own thing together with the youth and the games or whatever we were playing. And she would just kind of get faded into the background. And I thought, I've got to make sure that I remember that, you know, with my friends and family as they get older, and with me. I don't think I'm going to fade into the background very easily, but you never know.
I don't think there's the least chance of it, Sheila. Not even a teeny chance of
Oh,
this.
you're funny. But I do notice we do tend to do that. And I think sometimes it's like we're not even sure how to talk to the older or generation and what you can talk to them about. And that's why your question is so good. How do you like to spend your time? Because that just opens up all kinds of conversational avenues. So I think that's great. By the way, on the sewing, I have to laugh. Diane said she made a skirt in school in sewing class and had the zipper on the wrong side. I can identify with that so much, Diane. Oh my gosh. And a lot of you have come in since and we've started talking, and I just want to say welcome and hi. And I'm trying to kind of note your comments and questions as they come in. I apologize if I'm not getting to them all. If you do have a specific question for Maria, I'm trying to keep an eye peeled. So be sure and post that. We're going to try and be mindful of everybody's time tonight and not be here too long. But we also don't want to let go of Maria until all our questions have been answered and all our curiosity satisfied. So
I like that Jeannie Chambers did some experimental cooking this weekend and both things turned out delicious. I'm now intrigued. Jeannie, you should have brought enough for the class.
You'll post what you made, Jeannie. You'll have to post what you did.
Yeah, I'm curious.
I was just telling Maria before we started, we got company coming right after this, but I pre-made it yesterday, but I am serving Moroccan beef stew, and it's got all these cool spices in it and prunes and apricots of all things. It sounds so weird.
You might need to share that recipe.
I gotta make a note to myself on my notes. Spinach. Don't forget to add the spinach. Anyway, it's really good. It has cinnamon and cumin. I can't remember what all kinds of good stuff. And I'm making a note. Hopefully I remember. I'd be very unhappy with myself if I forgot the spinach. But anyway, so go get back to cooking. So tell me, have you ever had a kitchen fail? If you did,
millions. Oh, millions.
Tell us a really juicy one. I want to know.
Oh gosh, I'm trying to think. There've been, there's just the times you burn things or but I do remember. And my husband, we've been married a very, very long time, 43 years, and he's always been really a good eater. I mean, I have some friends who are married to guys who just won't try things, and but I made a trout one night and it was like the meal. He refused. He was like, no, hard no.
Oh,
and
really?
He wasn't wrong. Yeah, he wasn't wrong. It was not some of my best moments, but we all have those, moments when you mistake the sugar for the salt, or you're just like, wow, no one needs that much garlic in anything. So I've had
Well,
it happen.
there's such a thing as too much garlic. Why should I do that?
There is
I
such a
don't
thing
know.
as too much garlic.
I don't know how many of my buddies on Instagram saw this, but I was doing a reel. We were down at our little beach digs, and I was demonstrating my fabulous salmon spread. And I'm going, and then you add some dill, and I didn't realize, I forgot the shaker down there with the dill doesn't have little holes. So I just took the lid out, and I went like this. And 8 million tons of dill dumped into my salmon dip. I was like, oh, well, you know,
well, I actually had a kitchen fail one time when I was, this was during the pandemic, when I was trying to kind of do things to, you know, help people cheer up. And I think it was Thanksgiving was coming up, or the holidays, and I was going, and we did it live, right? And I had everybody, I was like, I'm going to teach you to make a good pie crust, because good pie crust is hard to find.
Yes,
and
it is.
Makes or breaks the pie. And I have a good method for it. And so I had a young friend come over, and she was my videographer, and Well, of course you're on camera, and I totally forgot one of the steps. So then it was just like, and it was live, which, as we all know, is evil. So I looked like a total idiot, but I just, you know, did my full Julia Child, never apologized.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
So I did. It was pretty funny.
Oh my gosh.
And of course, if I hadn't been on camera, it wouldn't have happened. I made that pie crust, you know,
of course, you probably made it a million times. My son and our son he worked his way through college as a chef in different restaurants. And we got into a discussion a while back about pie crust. And frankly, I pride myself on my pie crust because they're flaky and they're not tough and they're fabulous. And my mother always told me, and I thought, you don't need no singing pie cutter thingy. What on earth? Use a fork. I just never understand the snobby that I've got to use the little pie crusty thing. I use a fork. Anyway, but we were talking, my mom always said, the other thing she said was, you never overwork your pie crust because that'll make it tough. You
absolutely. You gotta hold hands.
Yeah.
You know.
And my son's like, well, no, it really doesn't matter. He saw some chef on TV. He said, you just put it back in the refrigerator, and it resets up, and you have all the little globules again. And I'm going, and you know what? So last time we were down there visiting, I had promised somebody an apple pie. I thought, okay, I want to try this, you guys. That was an embarrassment to pie crust. I thought, I'm never making your kind of pie crust ever again. I'm sticking with what works. I use good old vegetable shortening. That's the only thing, just about the only thing I use shortening anymore is my pie crust. But I thought, this is working, and I'm not messing with it. So there. And by the way,
no, we have it works. Okay, Jeannie has shared bran muffins with strawberries, ginger, cinnamon, dates, and craisins. That does sound good. Ooh, and then chicken corn chowder with diced onions and potatoes. Yeah.
Oh, that sounds so good.
Oh yeah, no, a rotisserie chicken. I'll tell you, those things. I mean, get a rotisserie chicken, you've got dinner for a week. So
that sounds really good. Thank you for sharing that.
Good job, Jeannie.
Do you just buy it's really hard to find just plain old bran in the store. You know, I'm always wanting to make bran muffins. And I think I had to special order on Amazon one time when I wanted to make bran stuff. So I don't know, where's everybody find their bran?
Sheila, I'll go to the store with you next time. I think it's just there.
I mean, really, I can find wheat germ. I can't find bran. Maybe it's right there in front of my face.
Okay. All right.
All right, good. So yes, our next exciting outing will be to the grocery store. Why is this saying help on my thingy? What am I doing wrong? I don't even know.
I don't think you're doing anything wrong.
I don't know that's weird. I guess that's for in case I need help. I don't need help. I don't need no stinking help. Okay, where are we with our questions? Oh, yes. So the other thing, I got to make sure. Now, we need to get the main thing here. Marie's new novel, The Book Club for Troublesome Women. Show us that cover. It is so cool. Oh, I love that cover. It matches your hair. This was an interesting read. I got a chance to have a sneak peek, you guys, and I found this book fascinating. And Marie, I'm going to have you share a little bit about life for women in the 60s, because I feel like it just went right over my head. I was like in junior high school. And so I didn't have a clue of anything. My mom seemed perfectly happy. And I didn't realize some of the things that were going on for women in the 60s. It was a bit of an eye-opener reading that book. So tell us a little bit about what life was like, because I think actually we had very different experiences in the 60s, the two of us. So tell me a little bit about life in the 60s.
Well, I was really young too. So, you know, a lot of this was based on research, and some women who were homemakers were perfectly happy. And that was fine. But there were a whole lot of women who were not feeling very satisfied. And so first, let me back up, guys, and tell you what the book's about. So the book club for Troublesome Women is set in a Northern Virginia suburb in 1963. Actually, the book goes a little bit further than that, 62 and 63. And it is in a planned community called Concordia, which doesn't exist. So it's a fictional place. Everybody is new. And so they're all new neighbors and getting to know each other. And so there's kind of this group of sort of quietly unhappy housewives for different reasons who aren't talking about that very much, really. And they're kind of maybe wondering what's wrong with them. A very intriguing new woman moves to town. And one of my main characters, Margaret, sort of comes up with this impromptu idea to have a book club because she really wants to get to know this woman. She just finds her fascinating. And the woman is very wealthy and from Manhattan. So she's kind of a fish out of water there. And she's like, yeah, not interested unless you want to read something really interesting, this new book called The Feminine Mystique by Betty Friedan. And that book and the book club changes everything for these women in the next tumultuous year of their lives. This book really started because of a conversation with my mom. My mom, I just saw her today. I took her home a little earlier today. She went to mass with me, and she is 92, and she is a pistol. She is,
yes, she
is a quick draw with a cocktail shaker, and her aspirational exit strategy is to be shot by a jealous wife. She's a scream. I love her so much. She's a big reader. And we were talking about books about 3 years ago. And suddenly The Feminine Mystique by Betty Friedan came up. And she said, I don't know if I ever told you, but that book changed my life. And I said, you haven't told me. Tell me more. And she started talking. And within seconds, I knew what I was supposed to write next.
Wow.
So really, I was an infant when that book came out, but it really was, for many, many people, it was a life-changing kind of a wake-up call moment. And I think the biggest thing that as I did a lot of research and talked is like, there were a lot of women who were kind of like, all right, well, I have the kids, the husband, the house. I'm supposed to be happy. Why aren't I? There's something wrong with me. And they felt guilty. They felt bad because they were like, well, there must be something wrong with me because all of society says that I should feel fulfilled and I don't. So what's wrong with me? This book came out and there was a whole bunch of women that realized they were not alone. And that is why I don't normally do this, but I'm going to do it this time. I wrote a little thing on the very first page of this novel, which is very short. I'm not going to read, but I thought it really wrapped up. I wanted to set the tone for what the book was about. And it says this: on February 19th, 1963, a troublesome, imperfect, controversial woman named Betty Friedan published a troublesome, imperfect, controversial book titled The Feminine Mystique. The book didn't solve the problem, but it did put a name to it, shining a light that helped women who felt isolated and powerless to find one another and their voices. That has been the start of every revolution. And so for a lot of women, that was the start of a revolution. Now, some women were very satisfied and content and fulfilled in their roles as wives and mothers, but it wasn't a good fit for everybody.
Well, but mention some of the things that women weren't allowed to do. I mean, that was
wow, so many, and it's so fascinating. I mean, the legal rights we did not have. Married couples were not legally guaranteed the right to contraception until 1965. It was all the way into, I believe, 72 for single people. Up until the 70s, women could be excluded from a jury simply for being women. They didn't have to do any other reasons until I got to pull. So up until 1974, depending on what state you lived in, you could be, denied a credit card or a loan on the basis of sex.
That's so sad.
Yeah, or marital status. Or to get a loan, you might have been required to have a male co-signer.
Mm.
The same thing didn't happen until 1988. There was something called the Women's Business Ownership Act, and which said that female entrepreneurs could not be required to have a male relative or male co-signer on a loan. 1988. It wasn't until 1981 that the Supreme Court overturned any state laws. And again, it really varied from state to state, but state laws that just got rid of what were called so-called head and master laws. And these gave husbands unilateral control over jointly owned marital property. So there was a whole lot of stuff going on. There was housing discrimination. There was a lot of things. There were a lot of things that were really not fair, and a lot of rights that we really, 1963 was the Equal Pay Act, which said if you're doing the same job as a man, a woman should be paid the same amount, which seems, that seems fair, right? That seems right. So there was just a whole bunch of stuff that was going on in those days. And I think so many of these rights we kind of take for granted.
Yeah, we do. You're right.
We don't realize how new they are for so many people.
Well, and when you first mentioned this book and talked about it, I'm talking about Betty Friedan. I'm going, are you sure this is going to be the end of your career? I mean, I was really a doom.
Oh no, she was so anti this book. I've forgiven you. I have forgiven you. Title. I knew you were wrong, so I didn't pay attention.
I know. I was opinionated, but nobody wanted to hear my opinion.
No, I heard your opinion. I just thought you were wrong.
Well, it's happened once before, so I guess that's cool. Oh my gosh. But it's interesting because this is already getting such critical acclaim. I mean, you are just getting such notices and starred reviews, and it's going to turn out to be a very important book for you, I think, and for all of us to read, because we're going to learn a lot. And it does have a very satisfying ending, I must say. Sometimes books that are critically important can be really depressing. And I don't feel like that was the case with your book. I felt hopeful at the end. Things happened as they should, but it wasn't this big depressing, I'm sure glad I read that kind of book. So it's really
and I think something that's important, and people are picking up on it in the book, is like, I don't hate men. I love men. I'm married to one. He's awesome. I gave birth to 3 of them. They are awesome. So, I think unfortunately feminism sometimes gets to be this scary word. It's like, oh, if you say you're interested in feminism, or that means you hate men. And that's just not true. That's just not true. I adore men. I actually, okay, this is our secret. I really kind of enjoy socializing with men more almost than women, because there's a little less drama,
Oh, that's funny. Oh my God.
I don't know that I would have been a super great mom to girls, because I don't have a lot of patience with drama. So, men are kind of straightforward, not all of them, but anyway. So, and I wanted to make that clear in this book too, that some of these really, some of these rules about, well, people are just supposed to be just this way and do just this job, they weren't really all that great necessarily for a lot of men too. So that was, I think, one of the important things. And I think, so that's,
no, we are definitely all
it is not, as my editor said, she was like, you didn't write what was it? A she woman man hater book.
That's a good thing, because we love our men, and it makes me sad to see the trend that has been in society that's been, it seems like we always have to swing the pendulum one direction or the other. We can't just, stay in the middle there and just go on a person by person basis. You get these sweeping generalizations, the whole choose the bear thing and all this other stuff. And I'm like, gosh, ladies, I mean, there are a lot of good guys out there.
There are also some jerks, and there are some jerks in my book. And, I mean, listen, every story has to have some bad guys.
It does, because otherwise, how does the heroine find the good guy?
This is it. My husband sometimes will it's funny. I love watching television with my husband, who is affectionately, his name is, Linda Sue, God bless you. Linda Sue says she misses her husband of 50 years. I
Oh my
bet you
gosh.
do. I'm so sorry, darling. But isn't it, looking back on those 50 years, isn't it wonderful? You had such a great guy for all that time. So anyway, I'm just sending you a big hug, darling.
That's very sweet. I'm
Yeah.
not seeing
So
comments.
when I watch television with my husband, sometimes he takes fiction really seriously. I mean, we'll be watching, he'll like, that guy's such a jerk, or why are they doing that? And I'm like, this is like a made up story, right, honey? And he's like, but this guy, I was like, there has to be a villain. There has to be a villain.
That's true.
Sometimes have to remind him that there has to be a villain.
You don't get into stories. Oh my gosh, I am so. Don't do that. Don't you know better than?
Oh, I do that sometimes too. But like he gets genuinely angry. Like so Downton Abbey. Remember Downton Abbey, which we all loved. He watched it too. Julian Fellows is dead to him now because Julian Fellows killed off some of the chairman's favorite characters, and he was like, I'm not watching anymore. And I was like, honey, the actors didn't want to do the series anymore. He had to, pardon me as I got my water bottle. He had to kill them. The actors, he's like, no, I don't care. He should have paid them more money. I mean, it was like, to this day, if you say Julian Fellows,
I love that.
He gets very upset. So
that's so funny. Oh my gosh, that's too funny.
It is.
Oh dear. So we've established that Marie really does love men. This is a really good, uplifting, encouraging book. You're going to learn a lot, and it's just good. It's just they can pre-order it right now. Right?
If you haven't, go get it, because I'll tell you, it's a good problem to have. I'm worried about them having printed enough copies. Quite honestly, I'm worried about us running out of books. Wow. So go pre-order it, because I don't want anyone to be disappointed.
Yeah, if you want to be sure you're going to get to your book. Now, are you going to be touring any place? Are you going to be doing some live appearances? I know you're going to do your big kickoff while I'm traveling, darn it all.
Well, and it's actually, you know what? It's probably okay because the kickoff is sold out. We're waitlisting now for the kickoff, the early event.
Wow.
I know.
Awesome.
I'm excited. We are doing, the question is, where am I not going? I'm doing a lot of things in Washington and Oregon, but I'm also going to be all over the South, North and South Carolina, Florida, Alabama. I'm going to be in Massachusetts, in Connecticut, in Maryland. If you go to my website, mariebostwick.com, there's a thing with my calendar, and I'm going to be a lot of places, and we're going to have so much fun. I am going to be dead after this because Sheila and I have talked about this. Unlike Sheila, I am not an extrovert. I only play one on television. So Sheila gets all this energy from live things, and I enjoy them. I really do. I'm always really happy to meet readers, but when it's over, I have to get flat. So I have to lay down and I have to not speak for several hours because my energy level is just.
Oh, wow. That's interesting.
Or as the youngins say these days, at that point, I am out of spoons. I have no more spoons. I don't really know what that means, but something about spoons.
Oh my gosh, that's funny. Yeah. And I'm just the opposite. In fact, I was really dragging my wagon. We were talking before this, and my energy level's been rising the whole time we've been talking. So I'm just like feeling good now.
Yeah.
Isn't that funny? It just the difference in authors, as in the difference in people. But so be sure though, you guys, Maria really is lovely. She's always telling me how mean and horrible she is, but she's really lovely and fun. And so be sure to check out her website for her tour schedule so you can have a chance to meet her in person. I know you're going to want to. And as usual, we do have thank you. My street team member and friend, Amy Akari, is going to be offering a giveaway of one of my books. And we're going to be giving away to some lucky person who was here live with us today and commenting a copy of the Best Life Book Club. Speaking of book clubs. And so later on, I've got company coming tonight, guys, so I might not get to posting our winner until tomorrow, but check back because we'll have a winner somewhere. I see Mindy has just arrived. Hi, Mindy. Hey, for all of you who happen to come in a little bit late, of course, you'll be able to see this after the fact. It'll be up here. I'll have it up on YouTube. And so you are going to want to have a chance to watch this again and hear some very interesting historical facts and all about how amazing Maria's website is with all her fabulous recipes. So you're not
I
going
do want to
miss out
hang
on
on,
that.
Sheila. Debbie Iskin points out something, and it's true. So I actually am the July read for Brenda Novak's book club. So if you belong to Brenda Novak's book club, that will
guarantee you're going to get a book. So,
book. So.
But those of you who aren't getting the book box, you better order it now.
Yeah, if you're not getting Brenda's book box, go get the book.
Yeah, it is a good book, and I know you're not going to be sorry that you spent the money on it. So books are always a great investment, right, guys? And again, I always say, because there are so many of us, and you all know so many of us, we're all writing, we're all prolific. If you can't afford to buy the book, have your public library order in a copy, and that way you're still helping the authors and you're helping other readers who maybe don't have it in the budget to buy a book. So you can't buy a book, make sure you request that your library orders in a copy, because it will be worth it. So Marie, what else? Is there anything else you need to say before I turn you loose?
Oh my gosh, I'm just so proud to be here, just like Minnie Pearl, Remember her? I love Minnie.
Where's your hat with the little label?
Where's the hat? No, my mother always says that. You'll say, "How are you, Mom?" I'm just so proud to be here. So I am really glad I got to spend this time with you. I think, though, does everybody vote that Sheila needs to share the Moroccan beef stew recipe? Because that sounds delicious.
Oh my gosh. So I'll share the ingredients and give you a quick thumbnail. How's that? How to put it all together?
No, I want you to post the actual recipe. I want the actual recipe.
Oh, I can do that. I'll take a picture of it. Hello, I'm thinking I have to type all that out. I will. Okay, guys, I'll take.
Or there's a link to it somewhere or something.
I will do something somewhere somehow, because it really is good. And so that will be my assignment for this week, you guys, in between my 8 million edits and getting ready for our big trip. Gerhard and I are still checking off the bucket left. A little easy for me.
She's like, my 8 million edits. She's going on a cruise around the world. Who feels sorry for her? No one. No one feels sorry for you, Sheila.
Only a little corner of the world, but we are definitely going to be traveling, guys. So we will not be gathering next Sunday, because I'll be flying out, but I will be trying to post little reels and fun things, and we'll try and do a poll of what little gifties you might like me to bring back for when we're doing goodie drawings after I return. So anyway, so Marie was in for a while, but wasn't she a great way to end the month? And I know you're going to want to buy our book, and that's all I have to say about that.
Patricia Warren, thank you for explaining about the spoons. That's what I thought.
Oh, I'm glad. Thank you.
I'm sorry. You keep trying to say goodbye, and I keep reading everybody's comments.
No. And I'm sorry, guys, for comments that I didn't get to. So somehow there was a weird little thing on my screen that said help. I'm afraid to click it for fear it will do something weird and I'll lose everybody. And so I'm not seeing, I apologize. I haven't seen all the comments. But anyway, I appreciate that you all were here. And again, a big thank you to Marie for joining us. And guys, we'll see you soon.
All right. Night, guys.